Hey everyone, the time has come to talk about willows. This is Shady Bonsai. All right, hey, hello everybody. It is a beautiful Friday out here, and we've gotten a little taste of fall here, but we're getting a little resurgence of summer coming back, so it's a nice day to be outside, and I want to talk about willows, specifically Nishiki Willow. Now, this is a Nishiki Willow right here, and these can be found at garden centers all over the place. They're pretty popular right now. That word Nishiki is a Japanese word. And as I was going around the garden center, if you look carefully, you'll see that word Nishiki in a couple different places. You'll see flowers that are called Nishiki, different trees that are called Nishiki. The reason is the word basically is a Japanese word that means something along the lines of like fancy or decorated. It's basically a fancy willow. And these ones, when these leaves first come out, are white or even pinkish. And so it gives this spring flush of almost flower-like appearance, frosty tips all over the tree, and it's a really cool look. A lot of people really like it in their garden. And what I noticed about these trees is that as they get trimmed at the garden center, it almost looks like they want to be a bonsai. They ramify pretty nicely. And so I saw one and I was like, that could be fun to experiment with. I looked around, not a lot of people have worked with these or tried to work with these, so I figured that's what this channel is all about. Let's give it a shot. I picked this one up in this past spring, fairly early, but I actually picked up another one before that. I'm going to show you that one in just a minute. I want to talk about this one first. This one's been doing really well. I picked it up too late, really, to repot. I was also, by that point, out of all the soil I had bought. So this one didn't do any repotting. I explored a little bit down here, in the roots to see if there was any sort of, flared base or anything going on, but didn't really mess with the roots much at all. I did take a lot of the crown off of this tree at the time in the spring to see how it would respond, what kind of flush of growth we would get. There's a lot of energy stored up in last year's, roots down here, so it had plenty of energy to bounce on back. Now, I was experimenting. So once that first flush of growth came out, I said, I wonder what would happen. Can I get a second flush of growth? So I trimmed that back to about, I think it was maybe 2 leaves or so in a lot of places to see, can I start to build some ramification in that first year? And it turns out, yeah, you can. This tree is totally healthy. It's doing great. And then in my stupidity, I said, well, it worked for this one. Let's do it on the other one. And here's what it looks like now. It's dead. So this was the first one I got. It's a little bit smaller tree. I was trying to experiment with, can you do like a shohin size in this? It was coming along really cool. That sort of had one big branch I took off here, but it was this cool leaning kind of tree. It was gonna be, I think, a kind of cool tree. It had that initial flush. It was doing great. And then I stupidly forgot one of the basic rules, which is, only kind of insult your tree once a year. And whereas I could cut this one back because I had not repotted it, I had repotted that one and it just did not have the energy to recover from that second insult that I did. I knew that. I've been doing this a long time. I'd taken a break from doing bonsai. And so I think I got a little too eager and kind of forgot my training, and I decided to push my luck on that, and the tree was dead within really a week or two. It just did not have the energy. So it's a really good reminder that if you're going to repot in the spring, you gotta let that tree rest and recover. Bonsai is a long-term thing. You can't push things too fast or you lose a tree. So this one has been resting the whole rest of the summer here now, and could I take some of the stuff off? Sure, absolutely. Am I going to? No, I'm not. I just want this one to grow and get as healthy as possible after some sort of that initial cutback that I did last year. I'd probably be fine to cut it back now. One of the things I know about willows, though, is that people complain about how often you'll get it where you want and then you'll lose branches. if they sense that a certain part of the tree is getting weak, because willows are such fast growers, they are more than happy to just drop whole sections of the tree wholesale and be like, forget it, I'll grow something new. So they keep you on your toes. Some of the reading I've done, because I have not actually worked with willows myself in the past, some of the reading I've been doing has suggested that you're less likely to lose some of these branches in the wintertime if you can keep the tree from freezing over the winter. So that is my plan. My winter storage area, which I know I have not shown anybody yet, it's really messy and it's not open to be seen right now. I will be showing you guys that in a couple months here. This is going to go into my winter storage. It's going to be cold enough to be dormant, but it's not going to be so cold that it'll be freezing or doing a freeze thaw kind of thing. So that's the hope over the winter. We can keep this really nice and heavy, and we won't lose any of the ramification we're getting in there. Now, we're gonna come on in here a bit closer. Okay, on the trunk here, well, I did have to take a branch off right here, so we're gonna want that to heal up. But coming up here, we split into two. I got two branches here, kind of splits again over here, and trying to get the ramification. This is maybe a little bit longer than I wanted up in here, but I think it's probably acceptable. And then I'm working on more ramification up after that. This one, I could maybe even shorten. I may go back and decide to shorten some of these up. I'm not sure. It's experimenting. This one here definitely feels long compared to the sections below it. So that's a candidate to be shortened up as well. But I don't hate it. This is definitely way too long. So that's going to need to be worked on. Maybe even brought back to this right here. Could be an option, although there are buds here, 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 and here. So there could be some options even to do some cutting at the end of the growing season and get ready for next spring for new growth to push out there. There is a really bad branch right back here that has wire on it. This is way too thick compared to the rest. It's only on here to provide something for me to wrap the wire around for this branch up here. So that will be taken off later on. And you can see this wire wrapping looks really terrible. This is because I'm going with sort of a cage style. This bark marks so easily when it comes to wire. So this is really almost more like a guy wire than a structural support wire. These are so flexible. It really does not take much to keep them in place. So I could have just bent this over with a guy wire down to the pot, but it's just sort of this sort of cage for it to guide through rather than being a... I don't need the wire on there for any support to keep the branches from breaking when they're bent. It's really just on there to sort of guide the direction. So that's on there. There's a little bit of wire on this out here as well, just to provide, to try to get a little movement into their experiment. But again, this branch is too long, so probably it's going to get cut back anyway. So I was just experimenting, trying to learn how this plant takes to wiring and whatnot. Some of the leaves got a little, damaged, a little insect damaged, or a little, chewed up. This is kind of interesting. You can see here, this is really small early growth, and then we've got these big, huge leaves that grew out there. That might have been like when some of the fertilizer kicked in later in the season as I was fertilizing it. So we got coarser, bigger growth. But, I'm kind of happy with some of the structure in here. Big picture, there's a bigger question, though. Long term, the big question on this is going to be, is this a suitable species to really be using? This is 1 year's growth. It's really long. So I'm going to be constantly chasing this back and thinking about, when do I want to cut? If you wanted to show it in a show, can I cut these back to just a couple leaves per new growth by the end of the season and have it look good? Possibly. This is not like a weeping willow. I don't need to bring these down. As long as I've got some wire on these to sort of set that initial structure, maybe it's the kind of thing where you're just getting small growth on the end that you're trimming back when you want to show it. I'm not really sure long term how this is going to look, but I do think they are interesting and going to be kind of fun to play around with. So this, I guess this technically was Nishiki Willow number 1, so I guess we have to call this Nishiki Willow number 2, and we will revisit this one coming up in the future, so this is one to keep an eye on. We'll find out, is it any good? Right now I'm kind of like, maybe this will be a fun species to work with, or maybe it's one of the ones that we just set to the side. It does not mind being in the shade, though. It's healthy. I'm getting, look at this, vigorous growth out of here while it's in the shade. So I want to experiment with it because, you know, the shade species can kind of be challenging to come by, and we got to be looking for some new material to work with that really loves the shade. So this is one that I think has some potential. Time will tell. Thanks for stopping by. This is Shady Bonsai.